Calling to order the regular council meeting for Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. And I'm calling to order at 10:05 p.m. We've already had silent meditation. We've already had the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call, please?
Roll call, Mayor Nickerson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pirella. Here. Councilperson Urban.
Present.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Councilperson Martin.
Present.
Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Estrella Lu, Village Manager, and Joseph Geller, Attorney, is running late.
All right, thank you very
We have a
much.
quorum.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I appreciate that. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? I do have, because of one of my choices for when we get to the Charter Review Board, one individual dropped out and told me another individual that could take his place. So I do have that deletion and addition, but I can talk about that when we get to the Charter Review Board. We don't have to talk about that right now. Does anybody else have any additions or deletions when it comes to the Charter Review Board names or any other any other adjustments to the agenda itself? Hearing.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the only thing will be like the discussion about whether what's the process and all of that.
We're going to get all to that.
The
We're
ones that are, they're aware of what
Yes.
the commitment they're
Yes.
actually making.
Yes,
Okay.
we're going to go through all
By-
that when we get to that
by
agenda item.
accepting that. Okay.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor Pirella. That being said, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Urban. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, moving on. Next is good and welfare. Anybody from the audience can come up and talk about anything in relation to the agenda items themselves. There will be another good and welfare at the end where you can come up and talk about anything at all. So for the first good and welfare, if anybody has anything that they want to say about the agenda itself, when we get to the agenda item, you guys will also get a chance to speak then. But if there's anybody who wants to come up right now and talk about anything on the agenda, come up, say your name and address for the record. The floor is yours for 3 minutes. Hearing, seeing none. Moving right on. Consent agenda. This is all, once again, you guys, no taxpayer dollars, all federal funding, all police department equipment. If I have no questions or comments, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Urban. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. Does anybody in the audience have any questions or comments about the consent agenda police equipment items? No taxpayer dollars. All federal funding. Hearing and seeing none. Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call for the consent agenda?
Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. I'm sorry? Yes. Councilperson Urban.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pirella. Yes. Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We're going to the agenda items. We really need Geller for these last two things. But for the agenda items, Madam Clerk, moving on to G1, the Charter Review Revision Resident Board Selection. Okay, so when we were here a couple of meetings ago, we spoke about how we have to start the charter review process. And so we have to start the charter review process in 2022. It will go through, we have to at least pick our charter board in 2022. This is the last meeting, December 13th of 2022. So that's why we're going to be picking the board tonight. We have to pick an odd number. I was just picking an odd number because they do have to vote on things, on what they're going to bring to the council. So this is the way it works. So they're going to go through our charter. As they go through our charter, they'll look at everything in the charter. Like, for example, they'll say, oh, this is how it works with the council. These are the meeting procedures. I hate these procedures. I think they should be changed. And so you guys will give suggestions to the council. When you guys give us the suggestions in 2023, then we'll take those suggestions. We'll vote on those suggestions. Let's say we agree with what you guys say and it passes 3-2 or 4-1 or 5-0, then that revision, that idea that you guys want to make an adjustment to the charter, that then goes to the voters in referendum in the next election, which would be 2024. And so when you go in 2024 to vote, you guys know how you go to vote and you see those questions like, should the Miami-Dade voters, taxpayers fund such and such park? and you either vote yes or no. So it'd be one of those type of questions. Whatever you guys decide for our charter, when you go to vote in 2024, you will see that question. Should the meeting procedures be adjusted to say whatever. So ultimately, if it goes through all that process where you guys pass it, you guys recommend it to us, we pass it, ultimately the voters of El Portal in the end get the final say in referendum, and that's how it goes. So we have to have at least a board. This board, none of us can be on it. This board has to be 100% residents, and that's why we're doing that today. We have to pick that board today, all right? So an email went out. We also had been talking about it. Residents that had seen meetings and just kind of heard through the grapevine also, they had contacted some of us individually to say they wanted to be on the board. Some people were sending emails to the clerk saying they wanted to be on the board. So we compiled all those names, all right? The clerk and myself spoke to Attorney Geller, and he had some ideas and thoughts himself. I wish he was here to kind of say those ideas and thoughts. I know Clerk Jacoby is looking at me out the side. Look how she's looking at me, you guys. Clerk Jacoby's like, Mayor, let Attorney Geller do his work himself. Don't do it for him. Don't start going down the line saying all the things that he was speaking about. Essentially, though, you all, for the Charter Review Board itself, as far as meeting goes, the review board, once it's created, they can dictate as far as how many times they want to meet per month. My suggestion is, you guys saw in the email that went out, if you guys saw my email to you guys, the letter to the residents, it was at least once a month, I would say. So like once a month, that way you guys can move through it, fairly quickly and things like that. Once a month, you guys meet like that. Now, as far as the meeting itself, so there was a back and forth that Attorney Geller was having with myself and the clerk. The clerk is very knowledgeable on things like this. Plus, she has a very big network when it comes to other clerks in other cities. I'll let her jump in a second if she wants to. But we were trying to figure out just the meeting procedure itself as far as like hybrid, Zoom, in person. A couple of us had different ideas. You had a little, debate about it and things like that. Attorney Geller feels like this. Attorney Geller feels like it should be 100% in person, and here's Attorney Geller. Attorney Geller came right on time, because the clerk was going to kill me if I continued to speak, because she likes you to speak the legal terms. So we were talking about how Attorney Geller, you, I, and the clerk, we've had discussions. We were talking about the procedures of actually doing, like how we're going to run the Charter Review Board. And once that board is together, that resident Charter Review Board, how they're going to run themselves as far as like frequency of meetings, the style of meeting and things like that. I was at the point to where my suggestion was at least once per month.
Got a lot of cards happening.
That way it would be able to move on, fairly quickly. But not, having spent so much time. And I spoke about how we had a debate and discussion kind of about like the procedure of the meeting, whether I thought Zoom would have been best, but you said that you've done many of these and that you said that in person would be best. Attorney Geller.
Members can participate by Zoom if that's what the decision is. But if you must have a physical quorum present at any time. So if you've got a 7-member body, you have to have 4 people in the room. And those are the ones selected, or those are the ones interested? Okay. I'm just saying, regardless of what you do, if you had only a 7-member body, you've got to have 4 present in the room to have quorum. If you have a 15-member body, you got to have 8 present in the room to have quorum, etc. People on Zoom do not count towards quorum. You can allow them to participate, but it ends up putting kind of an undue burden on the people who make it to the meetings. If you have people who don't participate, you're able to remove them. Keep in mind, as I know you've discussed already, and as we talked about, This body is subject to the ethics requirements of the county. I believe they even have to make financial disclosure. And they're certainly subject to the Sunshine Law and cannot discuss this among themselves, any two of them, even at any time, for any purpose. There are also anything to do with it, any notes or anything, are considered public records. Absolutely correct, Madam Clerk. So at the end of the day, if you have too many members and you find that you're not able to get a quorum, or if you have difficulty because only the people who can physically make it here and you're going to allow others to appear by Zoom, you make it difficult for the board to complete its work. You know, that's not a legal requirement, but having quorum in person is a legal requirement, and obeying sunshine and ethics and financial disclosure, those are legal requirements. You know, monthly, I wouldn't stipulate monthly meetings. The group can decide to meet monthly, but, you know, if they were meeting now and they had met, you know, a couple of days after Thanksgiving, and they needed some time to get stuff done, and they said, well, we'll just meet January 3rd or 5th, and it turned out it was 5 weeks instead of having to have one in December, that's a decision that the Charter Review Committee can do itself. Now, keep in mind, the committee only makes recommendations. The final word is the council. The committee can recommend to the council what they think should go on the ballot, but the ones who put it on the ballot is the village council. So, you know, it's not complicated. It runs basically according to Robert's Rules of Order. There are a few different ways that they can choose to proceed. I've done it twice for the village. Once when we wrote what we called the new charter, which is Councilwoman Lightfoot Ward will recall, ain't that new anymore, but it was when we passed it 20 years ago, and it replaced the 1937 charter that was pretty out of date. And then we did it again, I think it was in 12, but that's my recollection. But it's a pretty straightforward process. How long it takes is really a function of the membership. But I will tell you, the more members you have, the harder it is to get product.
Yeah, I just wanted for clarity purposes, the reason why Attorney Geller is saying that those on Zoom wouldn't be considered quorum, like part of the quorum, is because this is the closest board to like what you see right here, right now. And since we've moved to in-person meetings, then this being the closest board, this board is basically has to also be moved to like in-person meetings. Therefore, anything on Zoom, if we would have had something like that, it wouldn't be allowed. Now, maybe if this was done a couple of years ago during like the COVID era, where everything was strictly Zoom, then it would have been a different story. But that's the reason why, you know, this has to be mostly in-person meetings. And so that might be a consideration while we're going through looking at these names, because, you know, there might be individuals who thought that they were able to appear on Zoom. I know a lot of my choices, individuals that came to me, you know, were on the. It would be much more difficult to come here in person. It might change things because they have children and things like that. They have young children and stuff like that. So that's something to consider, I think. Vice Mayor Perrella, I see you want to say something.
Well, no, it's, the only comment I have is also the cost of it. So Zoom meeting is gonna cost a lot more if they're meeting once a month. I don't know if we have anything budgeted for this, because the review of the charter is gonna cost a lot. Not only if we actually decide to go with questions, how many questions are gonna be presented, and how much is each question. And, you know, we have to get, I understood that we need to get a separate fees for the lawyer, because it doesn't include whatever the contract we have with the legal services as part of the charter review, because since it's done every 10 years, it's not part of the service. So, you know, a Zoom meeting, I think, to my knowledge wouldn't be
Yeah,
the
would-
best
thing.
way to.
Yeah, and what you're mostly referring to are the hybrid meetings,
Yeah.
because those are the expensive ones. Straight Zoom is not really expensive when we do it that way, but the hybrid meetings would be expensive, and that's the
Yeah.
way we would have had to
You
do it if we
couldn't-
were to do it like
You
that.
couldn't have it
Yeah.
just Zoom, because like he said, you have to have quorum.
So it
And
has
then
to
you
be
also
hybrid.
have to keep in mind that who are you gonna decide, or who's gonna decide who's gonna be on Zoom and who's not? That is also another,
No, I'm saying, yeah, so that's the reason why we can't do the hybrid model.
Hybrid.
The hybrid is
And
what I'm talking
the
about.
other thing, Vice Mayor, is that if you're on Zoom, when it's a hybrid meeting, it's just that many more people talking. And the longer it goes, the more expensive.
So I'll get comments from
Yes,
other
I do have
individuals, but I do
comments.
want to say, while, I'm getting the comments from, Chip.
Let me add, by the way, Mayor, important though, to the Vice Mayor's point, there's nothing that says non-members of the committee can't present ideas to the committee for the committee to consider. People can, put it in writing, they can send it to the clerk, can send it to the manager, they could send it to me, they could present it to the committee, they could send it to any of you, and their ideas can be considered. I don't know that the Design Review Board necessarily wants to take oral presentations, but that's up to the board, Design Review, the
Charter
Charter
Review.
Review Board. But certainly, they can consider the ideas of other citizens. So no one's precluded from presenting their ideas. It's an open process. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm going to turn over, thank you very much, Attorney Gill. I'm going to turn over to Chairperson Martin, but I do want to say, while we're going through this and while we're making our comments made, I think what we need to first concentrate on, just kind of move this forward, we need to concentrate on how many people do we want on this Charter Review Board, and kind of go from there, like the maximum people that we want. Because that would allow us to either like eliminate some names or push the names forward and things like that. We have to have a minimum 7. There's no maximum, but we have to have minimum 7. So kind of keep in mind, you guys kind of brainstorm how many people do we want on here, and we'll just go from there. And remember to keep it odd. Keep it odd, because they're gonna have to vote on this thing. So if there's a difference of opinion and you have 6 people that vote for and 6 people that vote against, then how is it going to be moved to us? So let's keep it odd. Think about your maximum number that you want. Chairperson Martin.
All right, so your final thought is a great segue into my thought. I read just a report by the National Civic League all about charter review commissions and best practices based on other municipalities and research that they've done, and they landed on the ideal number as at 15 to 20 community members. Initially, I thought that sounded high to me, but then when you think about the Charter Review Commission as an outreach commission, it makes sense. So they can do a lot of that legwork. If you have 10 or 15 members, they have their networks, people that they can speak with. To Attorney Geller's point, they can get information from villagers about either ideas on the charter, dislikes, likes, and other ideas, filter it through and present it to us at the end. So I think that the number that we have is a workable number. It's an odd number already. I would leave it as such. I think going through the process of figuring out whose analysis is changed by this removal of the availability of meeting through Zoom, I think that would be something I think that might be speculative and kind of unwieldy to do tonight. I would say accept everybody on the list. If anybody wants to opt out based on the fact that Zoom is no longer an option as far as how they may appear, accept their early resignation, and then hopefully we land at an odd number and just continue with that. But I think we're actually at a good number. My only counsel as well would be, I think we should give them a hard end date as far as when they should give us their recommendations, but then leave it free and up to them to determine whether or not they're going to meet bi-monthly or monthly based on how they choose to divvy up the tasks, because those 15 people could create subcommittees within the committees, work on different chunks of the charter, and kind of figure out how to knock this task out in a way that really doesn't need our hand-holding. So I would just accept everybody on this list, let them opt out if there's no Zoom, and give them a hard end date by which they're supposed to present their findings to us.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. I agree with you. I think currently, right now on the list, I think we have 16, but I'm going to make it 15 because one person did text me and say that they weren't going to be on there anymore. So it will be 15, which is good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we currently have 16 bullets. Also, I just wanted to say that Attorney Geller, there was, when we were on the phone, myself, you, and the clerk, going back and forth through these things, there was something else that you brought up, which is in our charter, it says to create the charter review board, it is 7 people. And I think this even goes more to what you were saying, Councilperson Martin, because, you know, things come up in people's lives and you never
Yeah.
know with the Zoom thing. So even though we might start off with this 15, you never know who might not be able to continue after maybe the first meeting or the second meeting or even before the first meeting. So, you know, it might be better that we keep it large because there might be some people that drops out. Secondly, though, Attorney Geller brought up when we were in discussion in the meeting, and this was something that I didn't think of at first because the way I was thinking about my thought process was in the charter it said we needed minimum 7 people to create the charter review board. So in my mind, I said, well, then we have to keep it at least 7 people throughout the process. But Attorney Geller said no. He said to create the charter review board per charter, we create it with minimum 7. He said, but if for some reason we fall to 5, as long as the creation was 7, then the charter review board can still go through as long as we still have a quorum of the number that's left over. So for 7, the quorum has to be at least 4. And then if it drops to 5, the quorum would be at least 3. And so we kind of, Attorney Geller and I interpreted that differently, but if you want to just kind of quickly speak on that.
Sure. You're only mandated as to what you do to set it up. If people resign or are removed for lack of attendance or something like that, or simply cease to participate, it's just not a problem. I mean, you complied with the charter to set it up. I'll just say this, if you have 15 people on there, that's probably a great size. If it was a large city, for the city of Miami, that would probably be great. For, Miami Gardens, that'd probably be a good thing. But I gotta tell you, 15 people, I mean, that's practically every other house here. That's a slight exaggeration, but,
But we have 15 people that have already.
I
If
understand.
the requirement was 15 and we were kind of throwing that number out into space and no one had raised their hand, I understand. But we have 15 people in this tiny little village that are willing to do it. So who are we to say no?
It's just, I'll just tell you, it makes it difficult to get the product by end date. If you have 15 people and they each talk for only 10 minutes at a meeting, do the math, and I can assure you there are people who have more than 10 minutes worth of discussion. So, if you're going to require every meeting to be 3.5, 4 hours, that's going to interfere with the people who want to come, want to participate, have something to say. But if you make it onerous for them, because like I said, if everybody has 10 minutes of discussion, and that's per item, and you don't know how many items there are going to be on each agenda. So that's my only note of caution.
No, that's
It's
definitely
obviously
a
up to you.
thought. I take that, but I also think that I have faith in people and they'll figure out a way to make the meetings productive and also efficient when it comes to time.
Can I make a note? Please.
Yeah,
I just,
for the time.
no, actually, I just want to know that each individual here has been aware of or let know that they need to provide their financial disclosures. That means that would be a public record. That they're subject to sunshine and that also subject to public records and ethics. I am not sure that everybody, because it wasn't clear to me in what we sent out. I'm just saying because for elections, I've come to know when people come to me, they're not comfortable with the financial disclosures being public record.
I completely think that the number will change. I think we should let them know.
I think
we should accept the 15, let them know, and whomever drops out beyond that point, then we go forward with that reduced number. But I expect some natural attrition based on those new requirements.
Of course. Let me just say also, when this was sent out, just those discussions hadn't happened yet. But I couldn't wait to not send because we were so behind the ball as far as sending it out. So, but being that's the case, I want to say for Councilperson Martin, for your point with the Madam Clerk with the deadline, we'll come up with that because in August 2024, because the election is November 2024, so August is the latest, or July? When's the latest?
No, actually, they start collecting because remember, we piggyback. So the questions must be formulated by the attorney with whatever they've decided, if you guys decide. So I would say by March.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it used to be August.
No,
for the
August-
latest for the
By
the
March-
submittal.
By
of
March,
the,
they start printing. Oh yeah, remember how many municipalities are there?
Okay, so then that sticks to what I said originally, that through 2023 is when they should probably work on this, have it ready for 2024. 2024, starting January, we can start voting on the different items that they suggest, have it all done by,
I would say no.
March,
Yeah. because
February,
you have-
March.
Yeah, because they also have to advertise
then there you
that.
go.
They have to see if that is, and keep in mind, I mean, there is a cost to each question. And that's something that you
Yeah.
have to budget for.
Yeah. Yeah, and,
If there is-
that'll be part of the decision when we're taking the suggestions.
Exactly.
Because there might be some questions that we feel are more important and we're spending the money to put it on the ballot or on the, on the voting thing before the other
But I would say
questions.
have them ready by March.
Yeah.
Because
Okay,
even
so-
if they give July as a deadline, I don't know what it's gonna look like. It depends on how many questions are from other cities that they also piggyback on.
Yeah.
Then I would give them.
So I would stick to my original plan if you guys don't have a problem with, and this is something that we don't have to, really discuss or talk about right now necessarily, but 2023, they go through the entire charter. They're finished by like December 2023. Starting
Okay.
January 2024, we start to get those suggestions and we vote on them in our January and our February 2024 meetings. And we decide what we're going to keep and what's going to go and what we're not going to keep. And so that's that. And in March, we formulate what we're going to keep. It goes to the clerk. It goes on the ballot for November 2024 to go to the voters, and they vote on what's going to change and what's not going to change. I think that's a good timeline. I like my timeline. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
In planning this process, is it fair, is it gonna be enough time for the people themselves on the committee to address the issues, and will we be telling them what we want, or what we've seen over the last time was what, 10 years ago? Will we be inputting that, or will they literally be thinking, because we've had some discussions and said that the charter doesn't reflect that, i.e. what is that we're doing right now with the what's the rental thing?
Short-term rental.
Yes, see, that's something that's critical to us. It's not something we created. And then as I've sat on this council, we've had issues and said that, yes, we need to update that. Will they have a sense of that? I can't say that I took the notes on what was lacking or where the things were inadequate for today's time. But I'm concerned about, we saw some things through the last 3 years, Mayor, that became an issue because they were dated. And I'm more concerned if the committee is given something to give them an idea that we know certain things are dated. And if not, how are they gonna know what to submit back to us in terms of putting on the ballot
Yeah.
to change the code?
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Great point. So, first of all, there's a difference between charter and code. So some things are in charter, but some things are in code. That's the first thing. Second of all, for these particular meetings that are going to be in person, Attorney Geller is going to be running the meetings because we can't be involved. We had a discussion about whether it had to be, the clerk, Attorney Geller, and Manager Aluda had to be here, and we figured out that it only had to be Attorney Geller because through these questions, and so he'll be the one. That's one part of the answer, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. he'll be the one at the meetings that will be walking them and guiding them through the charter, and there to answer like the questions that they have or any confusion that they have with what they're discussing and voting on and things like that. We also can, Attorney Geller, correct me if I'm wrong, when we were having our meeting, as residents, because the meeting's going to be here in the chambers, as residents, we can attend the meeting. There was something, Attorney Geller, you were saying when we had that meeting about 2 council persons or over 2 council persons. What was that?
Because of sunshine, 2 council members can't be present and speak at the meeting, like a homeowners meeting. Sorry, I'm still a little dealing with this, so I apologize for my voice, but, you know, council members can attend a homeowners association meeting, but they can't, they can't speak, have multiple council members speak to each other because that's not a sunshine meeting. So council members could attend charter review, but if one has something to say, that's not a problem. But if more than one is going to make a comment, the other council members need to leave the room when they do, or else they can't make the comment.
So there you go. So when we have these meetings, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, we can all attend. Only one can speak, and when that individual speaks, the rest of us have to leave the room. That's another way to where you're saying how we can, you know, have our voices heard about what we feel about certain things in the charter and things like that. But like I said, Attorney Geller is going to be there to guide them through the process.
I'll just say, Mayor, even with 15 members, which will definitely slow it down, I'd be very surprised if they need 12 meetings to get to what they want to do. I mean,
No,
we won't be if they need 12 meetings all through 2023, it could happen, but I'll be surprised. Our charter's not that big.
They can adjust it, Attorney Geller, how they want to adjust it. Go ahead, Jacoby.
I have a question. What about for quorum? So if you don't have quorum, you don't have anything. So that makes it that much more difficult.
Yeah,
With
if you don't have a
15,
quorum at a meeting, the meeting
can't
has
have
to
a
be
meeting.
canceled. Yeah.
Getting 15 people to come, that's something to think about. Sometimes I,
Well, you
don't
don't need,
need 15.
if you have
But-
15, you need
8.
8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need 8. So this is where I think we are right here, and I don't know if Councilperson Urban, I'm gonna come to you in 1 second. So this is where we are here. This is what I'm thinking. So I have nothing against what Councilperson Martin said about, you know, keeping everybody that's on the list. I think that what we should do, I think that after we, you know, vote these people through or whatever we're gonna do, I think that we should organize, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this can happen strictly through Zoom. I think that we, hold on. Just let me get through before you shake your head, Attorney Geller. I think like a informational briefing does not have to be in person. So we can contact all these individuals like tomorrow and say we're going to do an informational briefing on the board. And everything that we're talking about now, we go over with those individuals. None of us will be on there. We'll go over with those, you guys go over with those individuals on Zoom while they're in their homes. Look, you guys, these meetings are going to be in person. You got to do a financial report. It's sunshine. You got to do ethics. You got to da-da-da-da, all through Zoom. And then we see who we have left. I think that's what we should do, right? I think that's what we should do. Because from that Zoom meeting, you might have people on a Zoom meeting. Yes,
Well.
yes. So you never know. All right, so Councilperson Urban, I'm going to let you speak right now, but I think that after he speaks, I think we should just make a motion and accept all of these individuals. I'll ask you guys have anybody you want to remove or anybody you want to add to the list? I know I have one individual that I need to add to the list, but he's replacing an individual, so the number's not going to change. And I have one person to remove, which would make it 15 instead of 16. Councilperson Urban.
Yeah, so I don't have too much to add, honestly. From the beginning, I said, you know, the more people on the board, the better. I understand the concerns about efficiency, but this is a big deal. You know, this is once in a decade, essentially, right? Supposedly, and or more. So I'm entirely in favor of a little bit of rowdiness in terms of differing opinions. I think that we don't want to get quagmired in, debate among the residents. However, we certainly need a diversity of opinions, a diversity of experiences, and to get that, the more the merrier, essentially. So I agree that if we go the route of accepting everybody initially, I also am in favor of the informational Zoom meeting, that whoever chooses to remain should be encouraged and allowed to remain. And then we may see still, a few people drop off as the months go by due to one circumstance or another. So my only question really at this point is Pluserbia going to be available or involved in any way with this board?
They tend to deal with the code.
Okay.
We have a land development code, a form-based code, which they were heavily involved in drafting, but that's the code.
Okay.
So if we were doing a code rewrite, I would say we would have to have them. The charter, though, tends to be vague. It's a guiding document. The code is there to implement what's in the charter.
Okay.
That's why the charter's just, our code is very lengthy. The charter's just not that long.
Right. Okay. So yeah, father of four, I do not believe in peace and quiet. It doesn't exist. Have not found it anywhere to exist in this world. Peace actually exists with the acceptance of noise. Then you can have peace, is kind of what my experience has been as a parent. So,
Councilman, I lived in college next door to a cemetery, and I can assure you there are places of peace and quiet,
Very
and
nice.
that's them.
yeah. And there might be some mediums who are like, no, a cemetery is full of drama, I'm telling you. So, so there you go. But I'm on board with the plan as discussed so far. So,
All right, thank you very much, you guys. Okay, so
What-
I'm striking Tom Pulliam from my list, you guys. He gave a reason why he wasn't going to be able to do it. So that leaves with 15 now. Aubrey Brunson, who definitely wanted to do it but couldn't do it, but he gave me his replacement. His replacement is Lartrey Smith, which is Lartreye Smith, who stays right across the street. So they'll be able to attend. All right, that's the Rodney household right across the street. Yes. No, absolutely. That being said, does anybody else have any?
I have one little thing. You guys are gonna kill me, but just one little thing. Since this doesn't happen that frequently, I thought it would be super, super cute for us to have a junior charter review commission. I mean, they're not an official body, but maybe partner with Horace Mann, some young folks in the community, just to kind of see what the civic process is all about and kind of have a firsthand view of this process that you don't really get to see very often. So I'm willing to completely take the responsibility of kind of wrangling that together. They're obviously not like an official board. They don't need the clerk and whatever else, just so that they get a bird's eye view into, how the sausage is made. So-
Councilwoman, if you get them here, I'll make sure they have an educational experience.
Oh, awesome. I take that.
That would be
And
good.
I appreciate that. But yeah.
Yeah.
So if everyone's on board, I will take responsibility for that, and hopefully we can do that in the summer.
100%. That sounds
Perfect,
perfect. That sounds
perfect.
perfect. Absolutely.
Yes, middle schoolers, high schoolers.
If that works,
Mhm.
make sure we give them something. It don't have to be no solid plaque, but some type of certification to encourage them. Not only that, if they turn out to be seniors, that looks real good trying to get to college. doesn't it?
This is true. That's a very good thought. I'll definitely write that down. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, you guys.
To give them some sort of certificate of recognition for participating in the review commission.
In fact, if you can, they're required, they need public
Service.
public service hours, so maybe we could arrange for the
This
time
is-
they spend in what are going to be a series of very long meetings to count towards their public service hours.
See, it works
Was,
out
was
for
that
them.
his little shot at you for the 15 people?
He did, and I
Was that a little
accept it.
shot?
I have faith in my fellow villagers.
I have faith.
think it
I
will
have
be,
faith in you.
These meetings will be nice
I have
and short.
faith in you. I have faith in you, Councilperson Martin. I'm with you.
Alrighty. No, good ideas. Thank you guys for the support.
All right. Thank you, guys. Is there anybody else with any additions or subtractions to this list? Names. Everybody good? Anybody from the audience want to come up and talk about this before we take a vote on it? No? Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm opening it up if anybody wants to come and say anything. You guys good? Okay. All right.
There's people here that are on the list. Raise your hands. You have 3.
And thank you guys. We
All right.
appreciate it.
We appreciate you all. Do I have a motion to approve the Charter Review Revision Resident Board selection that is current?
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Martin, seconded by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Councilperson Erbaum.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perella. Yes. Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, we'll get that. And Madam Clerk, you and I will get together and we'll for the Zoom and we'll make a list of all the points you guys have to hit on the Zoom meeting too.
Yeah,
Timeline and everything.
I also want to make a note. Some of you gave me the names. I would also need if you can provide the phone numbers and so we can contact them. That would be great. If you can email them to me, that'd be great. That'd be very helpful.
That's perfect. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much, you guys. Thank you very much. It's going to be a great process. Moving on, and I know right now Attorney Geller going to get ready to do a swearing in for the information, but right now we're moving on to the resolutions. This is Resolution H1, Site Plan Approval Construction, one-story addition. Camilla, if you want to come to one of the podiums to prepare for that, and Attorney Geller, read that into the record resolution for us, please.
Yes, sir. H1, a resolution of the Village Council of El Portal, Florida, granting site plan approval for the new construction of a one-story addition at 150 Northeast 88th Street in Zone 3, Suburban Residence in the Village of El Portal, an application by Mary Ann Shepard, providing for findings, providing for conditions, providing for appeal, providing for violation of conditions, providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you very much, Attorney Geller. Attorney Geller, do you want to do the swearing in to the individuals?
Okay, everyone who's going to give testimony in this matter, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your name, do hereby solemnly swear, or affirm if you prefer, that the testimony I will give this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God, or you may take an affirmation.
Thank you very much. Camilla, kind of explain it to us this plan. It's already been through committee. It's already been passed through committee. That's why it's at council level. But explain to us this plan, and once again, give us your suggestion, approval or not approval.
Yes, certainly, Mayor Nickerson. This site plan review application is for the construction of an approximately 1,400 square foot addition to the existing 1,600 square foot house at the property with address 150 Northeast 88th Street. The addition consists of a 2-car garage, a new master suite, and a covered rear terrace, and complies with the zoning requirements and site development standards for Zone 3. The proposed plan is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the intent of the use of the district in which it is located. And the approval of the site plan, the staff believes, will not have an adverse impact on the village. The design of the addition is consistent with the architecture and details of the existing house, and it is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood in scale, composition, and materials. The applicant shows good cause with the proposal of the construction of the new addition to the residence. Therefore, approval is recommended for this site plan review application.
Thank you very much, Camilla. I appreciate that. Can you guys, for before we all get started and I go to the council and see if they have any questions or comments, can you all say your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Dulce Condi. I'm the architect for the project. Address is 11410 North Kendall Drive, Miami, Florida, Suite 208.
Thank you very much.
My name is Juan Calero, also an architect. Our office is at 11410 North Kendall Drive, Suite 208.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mayor, we should accept the staff report into the record.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do accept the staff report into the record without objection, unless anybody from the council wants to object. You guys good? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. All right. Very good. All opposed say nay. Okay, it's all accepted. Appreciate that, you guys. Do you have any questions for either Camilla or the applicant? Anybody here on the council? And then I'll open it up to the audience.
Just to know if anything has changed.
Camilla, has anything been adjusted since we first approved this at the committee level?
It was approved and nothing has changed since then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Councilperson Urban. Anybody from the audience have any questions about this property? No? Being that as it is, do I have a motion to approve this resolution, which is resolution, sorry about that, I was in the charter real quick, which is resolution H1.
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Urban. Do I have a second for approval of resolution H1? Second by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call, please?
Roll call, Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Councilperson Urban.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perella.
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Motions passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Camilla. Have a nice night. We appreciate all your time. Madam Manager, committee reports. You're up.
I am referring everyone to the village website for the December manager's report. It will be ready by the 21st, after we've completed a lot of tasks that we're working on. I will give you just a brief description of some things that we're working on, which is our MS4 co-permittee issue, and we've been given an extension to kind of address some of our stormwater nothing negative. We're making strides in that aspect, but our Public Works Director is working on that. And we had a meeting today with Miami-Dade County to talk about the resiliency grant that Miami-Dade County was awarded to take over our septic to sewer project on the west side. Because we are so close to completion of the design, they've taken on the project on behalf of the village. We're really excited about that. So we're in just the initial phases of talking about that, but just know that Miami-Dade County will be partnering with the village to take on the septic to sewer conversion project that has been stalled for the past couple of years. And there's more, but please refer to the village website by December 21st, when I will give you more details about what all departments are doing and what we've been doing and what to expect in 2023.
And I was just going to say, Manager Lou, myself and the village manager, we have a lot of big things coming in 2023. So you guys in 2022, Madam Manager, we knocked it out of the park as far as funding, historical amounts, never before in El Portal history combined. And so 2023, we have a lot of things on deck. And we even have a lot of things public relation-wise, Madam Manager, on deck. I mean, we're not even talking about how, it wasn't that long ago that Time Magazine was here and just interviewed us back there about El Portal, And so we have the CW meeting tomorrow. So we have a lot. So El Portal is really going to start getting out there more and more in a positive way. So, but there's a lot of exciting things happening in 2023. For my mayor report, I'm going to turn it over to Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, because she came to me earlier and she said, Mayor, I'm kind of reinvigorated because I'm kind of getting back into things, and there's things coming up and things I'm joining organizations and things like that. And she was very happy and excited about it. I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to give my mayor report. I'm going to give you the time, Madam Councilperson. So, Madam Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Mayor, I appreciate that. Joe, we were in a meeting last night. I was going to leave that to you to talk about. It's just one of the things that happens so often this time of the year, and we just happened to be on the list and got voted in to the DEM, and it was very interesting. DEC, sorry. It was very interesting, and we want to keep you updated as best we can. My other issue was I walked away from the meeting last month because I was getting a little bit dizzy. I don't mind telling people, if you see me looking like I'm about to fall out, somebody bring me some water. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. It's a medical condition. It's not serious, but I do get there. I do get there. So you see me looking like I'm about to fall out, somebody raise your hand, say something, okay? The other one is the Public Affairs Committee meeting. I didn't get a chance to do that because of the health reason. The projected calendar of topics, activities are as follows. They can be changed, everyone. Our Public Affairs Committee can be very robust. We've had some very interesting things to happen this whole year, thank you, Mayor. And when I was appointed, he said, you know, just kind of make that, give it imagination. So I did just that. I put some dates by it. Whether or not we'll be able to keep those dates, I'll only know per the future, but it's projected calendar of topics and activities. Anyone that wants to be a part of we have 3 members on the committee. Maureen, I know you're on the committee of Public Affairs, and there's one more.
Urban.
Urban, that's you, yeah, Urban. This is just something that I thought about. Because as the chair, it doesn't seem right that we shouldn't have some type of expectations of the challenges and opportunities during a fiscal year. So again, I've selected some dates. Doesn't matter what that is, that's changeable. January 10th, update the village's webs page, information, the general information, the history, the pictures, committee recommendations, suggestions for improving information. We have a very dated webpage. And that's nobody's fault. It's just an oversight. March 14th, I'm thinking in terms of invitation presentations from principals of both Horseman Middle School and Dr. Martin Dunn Academy for Community Education Senior High School. Both schools are together. They're on the same property. Most of us miss it, but we do have both a junior high school and a senior high school on the same property in El Portal. The theme being ushering in the new generation of leaders, acknowledging, celebrating, and engaging students' performance. That's why the last suggestion was so timely. We want to get the students involved. That's how I got involved. I went to meetings and didn't know that I would be doing this one day. I just found it very interesting that really, you actually can vote to have a sidewalk put in. You can have trees cut. I'm a little tight at that time. And it kind of caught on, and then I became a city manager, and I was off for the races. That was it. I know public service is a good career path. May 9th, open to suggestions from committee members from May, July to September. I only think we need about 5 major things in public affairs to make it an affair of community activities, an affair that gives information, an affair that has an opportunity to be decorated. In other words, if we wanted to, if one of the children say, you know what, we got this extra Christmas tree, can we put it over here? That's happened in this village. That's happened in this village. Sure you can. We got all the stuff. Okay. And then note, although heretofore there are generally no meetings after September, it is the request of the Public Affairs Chair, me, that the following be formally acknowledged every year as annotated below. December the 12th, commencing in 2022, we need the annual acknowledgement of this village years of resiliency on the village of El Portal's marquee. I got that from what, Mayor, you did last meeting. The commemorative things that were happened at last meeting were awesome. If anybody want to disagree with me, go right ahead, but I thought they were awesome. All those recognitions, all those people in the public, all those things that the mayor took time to annotate. We've seen an increase in the people that's sitting in the audience. That's what we want. We want to bring them. This is our city. This is our village, and we need more people to be engaged. As I said, and I want to say it again, if I'm allowed to run, this term I was appointed, and the next term, I'm going to say goodbye to public service. My birthday is December the 20th. I'll be 70 years old. I've done my time. But I'm looking very honestly at someone I can recommend to come into this kind of effort, be placed on the ballot. I've done my time. I'm very proud of over 30 years in public service, employed and as a council person and one-time mayor. Finally, the incorporation date for what I just said about the marquee would be being December the 6th, 1937, making the village of El Portal 85 years old this year. I only know that because the mayor put it on one of the plaques. The mayor put it on one of the plaques. You can read it. Isn't that our constitution, our charter up there on the board? Something's up there that talks about the aging of the village. I just don't remember which one it is. It is in the conference room. We want to put it where people can see it because this is monumental. We have literally been here since December 6, 1937. That's monumental. This building is what I need to know how old this building is, because we didn't always have this building. We had it, but not this size. The bathrooms are even modernized. I was happy about that. So that is my report for projected calendar topics and activities for fiscal year 2023. Madam Manager, we run on the fiscal, right? Yes, rather than the calendar year. Thank you, Mayor, I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, can I chime in? I was just having coffee with the resident this morning, and he was talking about the need for more events. I know that we significantly cut the event budget, but I do think because we did cut that, we as a committee need to make concerted efforts to create some sort of strategic partnership so we can add back just a few of those events targeting different populations, people with young kids, our elderly residents, but something that actually encourages folks to actually get out, get together, and kind of strengthen those communal bonds. So I completely love your calendar of events, but I also want us to kind of do the legwork of getting some partnerships out there that might create some physical events that our residents can attend. So
I'm open to that, Mayor and council, my fellow council person. 2 women on the council, look at that. More importantly, I'm a military veteran, and I was surprised at how many military veterans are actually in this village. Totally surprised that are still alive. Got the idea when I looked at North Miami's structure. People, I don't know how you feel about people going out to war voluntarily, but that's part of my heart. I was there. I know what it's like. It's okay to say thank you for your service, but it's another thing to be memorialized, as other cities have done. It's just a thought that we might want to just simply take a look at that. Give people an opportunity to say, are you a veteran? Please sign up. Please fill out this form, short, very little form, so that we can recognize them every year. Thank you very much, Mayor. I appreciate it. You too, Councilwoman.
Thank you very much, both of you. I appreciate both of you. Let me just say a couple of things really, really quickly, and then we'll get ready to get out of here. I agree with you 100% when it comes to, your schedule, when it comes to, the events that you're talking about and referring to councilperson and chairperson of the Public Affairs Committee, Lightfoot Ward. As far as the military veterans, first responders, and those who own businesses, I'm going to be doing a lot with that information. You guys know I had the informational exposition recently where I started to gather information. It's going to be an ongoing thing. We are going to that event is going to be like that huge event that you guys saw. It's going to be once a year at the end of October. But I'm going to, like, for example, for small businesses, and Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, you know this, for small businesses, I'm going to put together an entire business pamphlet of all El Portal business owners. Everybody's gonna get a one-pager, with photos and explaining their company, explaining their business, because like I said, the informational exposition, how you doing, my brother? Like I said, the informational exposition, you know, you might have somebody who is down the street that does what you're looking for, right? You might be looking for somebody that does a certain thing. They might be around the corner from you and you never ever knew it. So I'm going to do that for Elbertal business owners. But I'm also going to be doing a lot with the military veterans and first responders. So that's going to be a good thing. Also, we're all, and Councilperson Lightfoot Ward knows this, we're on the same page also when it comes to the school situation, because not only Horace Mann and Marvin Dunn, but also Phyllis Ruth Miller has reached out. And so what I was going to do was I'm going to put together, and now we're going to be on the same page because we knew that, but I'm going to put together like one Saturday where I'm going to have all 3 schools here, and they can present like kind of like a presentation to the whole community. Whoever comes out that Saturday, I'll have food, refreshments, and things like that, so that they can come out. The principals, the administrators, and the teachers can speak from each of the 3 schools, because you know, like the elementary school can go first, the middle school second, and then the high school third. Because the principals reach out to me and they're like, "Well, Mayor, like we don't have any Elbertal kids going to our schools." And I said, well, you know what? Like, they just might not know what you guys have to offer. So let me do a day where I bring you all in. Like, I'll walk the flyers around. I'll make sure as many people come there as want to be there. I'll do it like on a Saturday morning, like maybe starting at whatever, 10 or 11 a.m. I'll have lunch, something like that. You guys can present, say all the wonderful programs you all have, all the magnet programs you all have, and things like that, so people know. I said, and after that, I'll gather that information and I'll make you a flyer that shows all the programs you all have, and I'll put them in my flyer, my door hangers that I always do, you know. So that's going to be coming up also in the new year. All right, I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Anything else?
I do have one thing, and it's unrelated to anything that we see on the agenda, but I was wondering as to why we weren't setting the fees for short-term vacation rental this evening. Just some guidance on that.
Yeah. So, all right. So there was just a lot of non-clarity when I was sitting there with the resolution and with the fee schedule and with the ordinance itself. Our code enforcement officer came back to me. Attorney Geller also had a meeting with the code enforcement officer, and there was just some things in the ordinance itself that they felt that we just couldn't enforce, and it had to be adjusted. And so since there was, I didn't want to put you guys through, and you guys are the ones that kind of championed that item. But I didn't want to come here and put you guys and everybody else through like the same discussion where it still was like convoluted to where there wasn't a distinctive like exit or end point at this particular time. And so that's the reason why it's kind of like we would have been talking about the same thing we had talked about last month, and there still needs to be like, I'm looking for clarity as far as an endpoint, as far as what can be enforced, what can't be enforced. Like I'm getting this information with the ordinance itself, and so I'm like, okay, so how are we going to implement fees where there's now questions about the ordinance that that I'm starting to hear about and get. And so I said, let's just pull it off, let's clean it up, so that the next time we come, there's 100% clarity and we know exactly what's going on, instead of being like, well, what about this? What about this? Okay, well, let's look into this. I don't want any more of those type of meetings for any of us,
So I will say that it was deflating for me, because every single time we say that we are going to do something in a public setting, the next meeting, I expect to do that. So I prepare for it. And I'm sure the manager prepares for it. The code enforcement officer prepares for it. And at this point, it seems like we're perpetually preparing for the portion where we are going to implement the fees. In my point of view, and Attorney Geller can let me know if I'm wrong, I think the ordinance and the fees are 2 different things at this point. And we can have the discussion about what the fees will be, separate and apart from whatever issues may be present with the ordinance. And I emphasize may because I haven't seen anything about what the challenges are or heard anything from our village attorney about whether or not those are valid. I think if our attorney advises us that something is on sound legal ground and we've relied on it to the point that we've passed the ordinance, then if something else is brought forward, it should be shared with the entire council as far as what that new information is. And if we already have the ordinance, questions about the ordinance, I think, should not bear on the conversation to move forward and set the fees. So at this point, because there has been such a delay initially with even getting to this point, this just seems like a lot of spinning your wheels for no particular reason. I think this is an item where there is going to be disagreements on the fees. There's going to be disagreements on the ordinances, and villagers are well within their rights to disagree. And if they want to bring suit, they're well within their rights to do that as well. However, the threat of that cannot stymie the process. And I, for one, feel like I've wasted a tremendous amount of time preparing for this moment that is no longer this moment. Because I think I'm a smart person, but I do have to prepare every single time we are set up to either make an educated decision on this item and discuss it with interested parties. And I, for one, would like to keep my word. If I say that I am going to be setting fees in a subsequent meeting, I would prefer for that to happen. And I also think there are significant issues with someone unilaterally deciding to not give us that opportunity. So I want to state for the record that I am prepared today to discuss fees, would have liked to discuss the fees, and I'm completely frustrated by not being allowed that opportunity and not being communicated with in a way that allows me to understand why I am not setting the fees this evening. So that's my comment.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. So, yeah, the mayor sets the agendas, and as far as, any meeting that occurred, I can't talk to you. So I can't talk to you prior to a meeting and say, hey, this is what I'm being told, this is what I'm being told, this is what I'm being told. Now, I don't know if the attorney wants to chime in or the manager wants to chime in because, they were in that meeting with the code enforcement officer, he's not here.
I'm aware that
Yeah,
the mayor sets the agenda, but I also know that we as a body sat in this forum
Absolutely.
and said that we would be doing something.
Yeah.
And I like to do what I say that I'm going to do. And if I can't do that, if there's a reason, then someone should communicate to me as to why that is not happening. So there's no why.
Yeah.
For me, nothing has changed. I have not seen any documents that make me say, whoa, this is not something we should do. I haven't seen anything about the fees that say no. I've actually had a great conversation with the manager and the code enforcement officer about how to be fair in the way that we are administering this program and prospecting the cost. So I feel prepared.
Yeah.
And maybe you have some information that would change that, but my issue is with the communication. So it is a 5-member body, and I think there's something fundamentally problematic with having one individual determine what it is you're able to vote on, because then, at the end of the day, it's really just one person deciding what comes before you and when it comes, despite the fact that we sat here and we spoke about it being presented in the following meeting.
Yeah.
So that is just my issue. And I know you don't intend to you're not trying to make it so that people cannot participate. I'm just telling you the issue with the system as it relates to this situation.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I think everybody knows me well enough to know that I would never shut down any information or shut down any item so it can't be voted on. I don't try to stop people from doing anything or saying anything at all. There were previous councils that were like that, but ever since I've been mayor, it's not been like that. I agree with you when it comes to the new information should have been told to you, but I'm not the one to tell that to you.
No,
you know what I mean?
and I'm not saying that you are the person to tell it to me. I'm just saying it should have been
So
communicated in some form.
once that meeting happened between myself, the code enforcement officer, manager Lou, and Attorney Geller, then maybe you should have been communicated to from that meeting.
This is true.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, I just want to make it so amazingly clear. Everyone is not going to agree.
Yeah.
So there are going to be things where it is going to be gray. There are going to be some people that are going to disagree with what we are doing.
Yeah.
There are going to be some people who are going to say they will sue based on what is done.
Yeah.
And that just is what it is, but it can't stop the legislative process. So the legal process is for Attorney Geller, and he can vet that. The legislative process has to move forward. And if we've passed an ordinance and we've said we're going to implement it, we should move forward as long as it is the will of the body. If everyone decides that they no longer want to do it, that's fine. I let it go, we don't have one. But the discontentment of some with the decision does not negate the need for a decision. It's just what I want to make clear. And with that, I'm off the topic.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think that I agree with you 100% when it comes to the discontentment. But I think that when I was told that I cannot, we cannot enforce, like it wasn't that I don't like this or I think you guys maybe do it, but it was I cannot enforce these particular things. I was like, oh, well, this is, that's something a little bit different. That's,
Yeah.
you know
My
what I mean?
response
So,
to that would be the fees have nothing to do with the ordinance.
Yeah.
And we should still move forward with setting the fees and then fix whatever's wrong with the ordinance.
I hear what you're saying. I guess I was just thinking that, the like you said, the fees come separately, but the fees can't be enforced without, if there's problems with the ordinance, then the fees can't go into enforcement without the ordinance. So, even, and you're right, we could have done the fees today, we could have put the fees through today, but they have no bearing, they have no weight if the ordinance is out of par to where there's just certain things that we're being told that we just can't enforce. And so the fees kick in, but the fees kick in once the ordinance kicks in, and that's the way the ordinance reads. So this is my train of thought, even if, we pass the fees in January with the new information that I got for the ordinance, then it still kicks in after that January meeting. So even if we pass the fees today in December, they would just be sitting there lingering. So to me, it wasn't a time difference, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just, it's the preparation. And I do think
understand.
there's a way that you can do it that would have the fees be set in contemplation of you fixing whatever has been discovered about the ordinance. And I look forward to seeing what it is that has been discovered about
Yeah.
the ordinance.
All right. Thank you.
But thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, on the council? Any last comments, questions?
Just to Councilperson Martin's words, I'll just say, hear, hear.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Urban.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I need some clarification. Is the fees gonna come from who? Because I'm the one who puts together the agenda, and if I don't have the documents on time, there's nothing I can put together. So I give a deadline Wednesday, and sometimes I receive things on Friday. The agenda should have gone on a Thursday, not on a Friday, because in order for you guys to make an educated decision, you also need the supporting documents. So I'm a little lost to think of where is this coming from? In the sense of
I don't send the fees, so I
No,
think
no,
that
no,
comment's
no.
for somebody else,
No,
and,
no, no,
and
no,
I'll
it
let them
wasn't-
answer.
it wasn't direct. It's actually adding on to your point.
I get you, I get you.
Yeah, I'm adding to your point. Where am I getting this from? Yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
In order for me to put it in the agenda, I mean, in defense to Mayor Nickerson's, he actually spoke to me about putting this on the agenda, but what he said was, we're gonna have the same people and you're not gonna have any documentation. So it's wasting the people's time and your time because you have nowhere.
So
to
it,
pin.
so this issue is definitely out of my wheelhouse. It sounds like internally there needs to be some things that are fixed and streamlined. It doesn't change my desire for things to be timely and for us as a body to do what we say that we're going to do. But I'm sure we'll be able to get it together.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I appreciate that. Yeah, let's always keep in mind that, when it comes to all these other topics that we've come up with, that, I'm right there with the writing of the ordinances and the resolutions. This one I wasn't. This is, and I think this was the only one since I've been mayor. I haven't been, I didn't write this ordinance or I didn't do this from the beginning.
I don't know too many mayors that are writing ordinances.
So
I
you're
will
looking
say
at so being that's the case, it just wasn't, in my. I'm trying to do, I'm trying to put things out. I'm trying to do whatever I can when it comes to that. But the short-term rental was not my, it wasn't my baby. As far as that's concerned, with that control, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, but
Carrillo.
Councilperson Martin's point is, so whose decision it is to actually set up the fees and talk about it when we had already the information from the manager, the village manager, and recommendations, and we sort of agree with the fees and stuff like that. And for my knowledge, there's no regulations out there. There are no regulations out there that could actually prevent the municipalities to charge as far as it goes to fees or licensing fees or violation fees. So it's not like we're charging an extraordinary amount of money, and so whether the ordinance needs to be
Adjusted or not.
reshaped or I think with the fees is another step to actually finish with this whole process that's been going on for over a year. It's not like it's not like we've been unprepared or advised by the lawyer and the manager and code enforcement, and it's been an educated decision, I think. And like Council Martin said, any threats of any suits or anything like that, then it is what it is, because not everybody's going to be happy. But that shouldn't stop us to actually proceed with the process, and the lawyer is there, so that's what we actually count on. It's been all based on what he's thought his recommendations were for the whole ordinance,
Yeah.
taking into consideration whether it's is aggressive or is something that it's kind of like conservative for not to inconvenience the people that is actually benefiting from the business of short-term rentals.
Yeah.
So it's not like nobody wants to punish anybody. It's just for the health and well-being of the whole community, period. Because, yeah, the 10 or the 43 or the 50 people that's benefiting from the business, there's another 1,300 people that's, and not everybody is being inconvenienced. I have short-term rentals around my house, and I don't have no complaints. Understand, it's not personal, and it's not to punish anybody. It's just the way the business should function.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Vice President.
Mayor,
Vice
may I?
Mayor.
May I?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I did, meet with the mayor and our village attorney, and as well as code enforcement. I spoke with the chairperson of planning and zoning, Councilperson Martin, several times, and we went over the fee recommendations. I made some amendments, and I, went through that with you all and provided that. So I did provide you all with that fee recommendation last week. Again, those are my recommendations, but that doesn't make an item. So, those are there. We await to hear, what you will determine on those fees. But I do ask that you all, speak with me when you have an opportunity, as I've asked in that memo. Because I do want to go over that. I've gone over it extensively with the mayor as well as with Councilperson Martin, but I do stand behind those fee recommendations, and I hope that anything else that comes from the ordinance that we did make recommendations about changing the ordinance in ways that were brought to our attention, but the fee, I don't see how those two will affect one another, but we put a lot of effort into it, and I hope we can move it forward.
No, just one more thing. I know that you guys put a lot of effort into it, which is why I just don't want you to be stuck in this loop of preparing over and over again on this. And the communication piece is important, because if the ordinance is problematic in many ways, unenforceable, all of those things, that's information that we need to know as well. To figure out how we move forward and how we don't waste time on that level as well, because we're relying on that document and the enforceability and correctness of the item, right? I'm an attorney. I'm not the city's attorney. I'm not doing research on case law for every clause in there. I rely on the village's attorney to do that. If there's something wrong with it, if something is not working the way it's supposed to, that information, I think, as well, should be communicated with the council, so we know what is happening, because at this point, it just seems like we're doing a lot of getting ready to wait. And I don't enjoy being in this position of preparing, and having to re-prepare the same things over and over again and not moving on to the next legislative issue. So that's the entirety of my concern.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that you should be communicated to, but I can't communicate to you guys. You understand?
No, not saying you, not saying you, but definitely you did make the decision to pull it off of the agenda, knowing that we anticipated it being on. So maybe next time if something like that happens, the follow-up to that is, hey, communicate as to why we're not doing this.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much. Anybody else from the council? Hearing none. Good and welfare. Anybody who wants to come up from the audience and talk about anything at all, name and address for the record, you have 3 minutes. Anything at all. Seeing, hearing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none. The regular council meeting for Tuesday, December 13th, 2022 is adjourned at 8:25 p.m.